Deebo was not playing like a $24 million player. So, I'm just saying if I were him, I'd be irritated.
So he's not living up to his contract.
So he shouldn't be surprised that this is out.
He should or shouldn't?
He should not be surprised.
Right. So quit feeling sorry for him. Maybe if he played better.
Have you been in a place where you didn't feel wanted?
No. I mean, yeah, everywhere. Every single freaking place, and you make do.
Yeah.
It's called being a professional. I want to play this again because there's about 7 things in this cut that I think we got to address. Take a listen. This is Shanny. I call him Shanny.
I think when you get close to a Super Bowl and you don't win it, I think there's always more pressure. I mean, especially from outside in, because you're going to hear about it more. So I think, everyone has a certain expectation for the season and things like that, because you always want to do better the next year, and there's not a lot of room to do better. There's only one more game, and so everyone wants to get their mind to that spot, but every team's different each year too, and so you go into a year, and the main thing is you don't want to get worse. You always try to get better, but you don't want to get worse. And when you do have players that have played a lot of good football over these last 3 to 5 years, it becomes a problem because you got to pay guys, and it's harder to keep carrying that. And that's why we went into free agency. You have to make a lot of hard decisions, but we're not ready to take 2 steps back. So eventually we can take 3 steps forward, or however that is. But you don't know if that's possible. And so you try to make your free agent decisions that way. You try to do the draft that way. And I feel we're in a position that hopefully I don't think we did get worse. I think we've tried to keep it to where we're there. And now what happens is when we start working on Monday? What happens in OTAs? What happens in training camp? And that's what allows some younger guys to, hopefully that we've added, to develop them and add them for depth, or maybe to take over somebody's spot, or maybe to make the guy in front of them better because they got some better competition behind them. And that's the way you get your team better, and that's really where we're at. We did it through free agency as good as we could. We did it through the draft as good as we can, and now I'm excited to focus on real football and going to work.
All right, so that was Kyle Shanahan on Saturday.
Reflecting. Wow.
Here's the one thing that I heard when he said what we didn't want to do was do something where we took 2 steps back for 3 steps forward down the line. That, to me, here's what I heard. That's why we didn't trade Ayuk or Deebo Samuel right now.
100% in agreement.
We feel like if we would have moved one of those guys this year, this offseason, that's 2 steps back, and even if it meant we'd be 3 steps forward in a year or 2, we just didn't want to do that right now because of where they are. And when he references free agency, I think it's his way of basically saying, yeah, that's why we didn't go out and go nuts in free agency, because we can't. We don't have the money to do that. We've got to start thinking about money just like the Warriors.
Yeah, he put it all out there.
More than ever before.
No doubt about it.
We got a quarterback that's going to need to get paid. So,
and this is, I love the fact that he said, Steiny, this has been a 5-year run. You know what I mean? And it, sometimes the chickens are going to come home to roost, to where financially you can't keep everything. He put it all out there, and I'm going to go Jerry Jones. It sounded like Kyle Shanahan was saying, Steiny, they're all in for the now. And the now may mean Deebo gone, but now we drafted what we deem his replacement.
Well, see, and I'm not just disagreeing to disagree, but I said all in earlier, and you were like, well, what does that mean? And then I thought, you know what? I don't think they went all in.
When you have the 31st pick, you can't. But when you come from the Super Bowl, what my point is, Steiny, you didn't have many holes.
Well, you did, people think, and that was on the offensive line.
All right.
All I'm saying is, to me, you didn't go all in. If you want to play the semantic game, you didn't go all in. Why not, Steiny? Because you drafted a receiver. And you have 2 great receivers right now.
But the reason that is, and why some people are giving it a bad grade, is because the O-lineman was not worthy of that pick, which makes all the sense in the world.
I'm presenting both sides. I get it. Yeah. I totally get it.
And let me give you this.
But maybe going all in would have been like, you know what, we got to take an offensive lineman because that's our biggest area in need.
No doubt.
And maybe we can get a guy on the offensive line at 31 who can play sooner than the guy we drafted in the 3rd round at offensive line.
But if you think, and I know it's Operation Super Bowl, but tell me what you think about this. I know the line needs enhancements, but how bad is it really, though, Steiny, when you got to your second Super Bowl in 5 years? Yeah, you lost the game, and we point to Feliciano and everything else that went bad in that game, that unit. But how bad is your O-line really when you got to the Super Bowl? I'm just saying.
Well,
so if
it
you
was
tell
their
me,
worst position group, according to many experts and according to a lot of analytics.
But they felt like no player was worthy.
That's right.
And I give them credit for that.
Well,
they're right.
That to me is what not going all in means. Not going all in means we know that we need help in the offensive line, but we're not going to draft an offensive lineman just to draft an offensive lineman because we need that position more than any other position. Like, my way of thinking would be all in would have been to just take an offensive lineman or 2 or 3 defensive players in the first round and John Lynch think that this guy is going to take them to the next level in his rookie year.
Right.
I don't think. I mean,
and I'll tell you what, if you told me he was a 0, I wouldn't tell you the Niners season was a failure. You know why? Because they got 2 studs out there along with Kittle and McCaffrey. So that's still going to be copacetic, Steiny. Now, the offensive line, that's a position that, my eyebrows are raised. Like, okay, what have you done to shore that up?
Well,
maybe a scheme. Maybe one of these young guys can crack the starting. I don't know, but.
Well, and I would just refer you to Jennifer Lee Chan of NBC Sports Bay Area, who doesn't think that the offensive line is as the situation is not as dire as some other people believe.
And maybe the Niners are backing that up.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think of this one from the 925 on the Xfinity Mobile text line? Wide receiver was a need. Not the top priority, but a need. Niners have one traditional wide receiver who can beat man coverage, and we saw their other guys get locked up in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's a problem to me more than a need or other way. Like if you're telling me your $24 million wide receiver / running back can't get it done.
Yeah, he didn't have a good game.
And if you're telling me Ayuk, maybe they saw something with Ayuk not getting separation, and that's one of the reasons they don't want to pay him 25 or 30.
And again, I'm not making excuses for anybody, Steiny. Maybe Brock Purdy he didn't have enough time to survey the field and get those guys the ball. But I saw Deebo drop some balls. And I'm not saying Ayuk was perfect, but again, I keep going to PFF where they were like, oh, their lack of separation is why they lost the Super Bowl.
From the 510, nobody knows what Pearsall will be. Yeah, I know.
But he doesn't control, to me, what this team is going to do. Even if he gave no contribution. If he got hurt, Steiny, they still are a locomotive on offense. So that's still intact.
Well, but don't say they're a locomotive of an offense if then the other half of the show we talk about how their receivers couldn't get open in the playoffs.
You reap what you sow, brother.
Are they – how good are they, the weapons on the 49ers? I know they got big names and big numbers behind their salaries, but –
Well, I'm living in a world, Steiny, where I'm not saying that they didn't get separation. The O-line needs to do better and allow Brock against top-tier defenses, because we go to that Raven game on Christmas when they came in here and it felt like they just kept all the receivers and all the playmakers in front of them outside of McCaffrey, the Ravens, that is. So maybe that's how we really need to judge this team when they're playing top-tier defenses. Do you do the Jerry Rice and John Taylor thing? And against Green Bay, you barely won at home. And Detroit, you were down 24-7.
Yeah, they're not going to do the John Taylor and Jerry Rice thing because those are the two.
Yeah.
Team won Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. They're not.
I hear you.
Let me ask you this. What if the year plays out like this? 49ers have a good year, but they don't win the Super Bowl. They lose in the NFC Championship game to the Lions.
All right.
Ayuk has 1,500 yards. Deebo's pretty good. McCaffrey does his thing. And guess what? What happens is what we should expect to happen when a guy gets drafted onto a team that's loaded. And Pearsall doesn't play a lot.
Totally see that.
Okay.
But what about the offseason?
Well, at that point.
What about the offseason?
No.
Okay, because now the money is making your decisions for you.
But we're talking about if you draft Pearsall and he doesn't play and you don't take it to the next level, I'm not saying the pick was wasted, but I'm saying you had a pick who you thought more of the long term than the short term. And was there anybody out there who could have helped us right now this year?
And that will be asked, Steiny. It will be second guessing. But will we ever have the answer to that question?
Yeah, however you answer it. Well, it's however you would answer it. Like if the 49ers don't win a Super Bowl and the rookie out of Florida, Pearsall, doesn't play, I don't know.
But they're telling us there were no linemen worthy.
But I'm telling you that if Pearsall doesn't play like a lot of 49er rookies have done, Ronnie Bell, even though he's a 7th-round pick or whatever.
I get you, Steiny.
It's like
that comes with the territory. I'm with you.
Okay, well, people are going to say you wasted a pick in the draft that could have helped immediately.
And now I'm thinking the way you just put
because there's going to be players due in the second round who are going to be good.
He's going to play. He's going to get a chance to play.
How?
And maybe they go 3 wide. They do more 3 wide. There has to be something to
I disagree.
Not drafting, basically redshirting your first-round pick.
I don't see how. He plays a lot. I mean, how's this guy going to play more than a third of the downs?
I mean, you're looking at the Lions go 5 wide, and I don't know if Kyle was looking at that like, damn, maybe I need
Kyle
to
still uses a fullback.
So we think. All right, I get
still on the team.
But Steiny, this draft might signal we're going to see more creativity and more wide receivers on the field than we ever have.
So we're going to see more creativity from a guy who's considered the most creative coach in the league other than Andy Reid now.
I'm speaking on wide receivers out on the field at once.
415 Xfinity Mobile text line. And the 49ers didn't see a lineman at 31 that they thought could come in and play immediately. So why waste the pick, add more firepower? I completely agree with you, 415. That's why they did what they did. I don't think there can be any doubt about that. But the issue is,
are they right?
What if the guy doesn't play in year one? And it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. But what it means is that for whatever reason, your first round pick isn't going to help you this year to a large degree. Now, again,
that's why I'm leaning towards we'll see him, Steiny.
I mean, I think he'll contribute here and there. But as a rookie, I mean, what do you think he's going to get 50 catches?
No, I don't know, but I feel like we'll see him. And maybe I'm wrong about the Juwan Jennings comp. You know what I'm saying, Steiny? I would still go to the counter and make that bet that Jennings would have more receptions, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this kid and Steve Smith Sr. and everybody that's glowing about him, maybe this kid has the goods and Kyle knows I can scheme him. He'll be able to help enough. And maybe it's 30 catches.
If you're a general manager and you make a selection of a pick, like you have to prepare for the fact that the pick might not be good.
Yep.
Like you do.
Totally.
Okay, so to me, the way the Niners drafted was let's draft a wide receiver. If he's really good, knock wood, then we have great problems. We have some great problems, quote unquote, ahead of us. Meaning we got 3 great wide receivers now, and we'll figure that out. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't play a lot, then the 49ers look at it as though, okay, if we draft this guy and he doesn't play, you know what? We might not be any worse because he probably wasn't going to play a lot anyway unless he was a great player. So in a way, it was an incredibly safe pick at wide receiver in a way because there is no pressure on the kid. Because if he gets on the field, it's a bonus on this team that we've been talking about for 2 years with these unbelievable weaponry. Like, if we talk about how unbelievable the weaponry's been the last 2 or 3 years, how can we assume that the 31st pick in the draft is going to come in and play on this team? If we've just been raving about their weapons for 2 or 3 years.
You are right, and I'm the one doing the raving like I'm from Baltimore, but I'll say this. Maybe they're telling us after the Super Bowl and this playoff run, Steiny, they're whispering to each other, they're not as dynamic as Goo thinks. That's all I can think. We need another facet to our passing game.
Or maybe it's, let's take the best wide receiver because we know we're losing one in a year. We just know it. And if we don't draft a receiver this year, then next year, when we do lose Deebo Samuel, we're going to have to deal with it right away. Like right away. Like we won't have a year or an off season to deal with it. 510, how do you know how much Pearsall will play? Nobody knows. What I'm saying is, if you're the 49ers, you have to allow for the possibility that he won't play a lot. That because you drafted a receiver, and you have two great ones right now, or two damn good ones.
So for the Jackals, or anybody, Steiny, saying that was a reach by the Niners, and he doesn't play, are you okay with being in a bar and somebody saying the Niners really butchered that pick? Because they didn't get immediate, Clint Eastwood, the sudden impact. They didn't get.
What I would say is, no, not that it was a bad pick, but that they must not have been considered, like they were considering their future more than their present.
But when we played that soundbite, it didn't sound like Kyle was doing that.
Yeah, it did.
Not to me.
It sounded to me like what he was saying is, this is the best way to have the best of both worlds. We can stay competitive right now because we have two guys at wide receiver who are really good. And if we couldn't see how if we lost one of them, which would be taking a couple steps back, that 2 or 3 years from now, if we were better for the move, like we didn't want to do that because that was too long a time.
And that's why I got all in from that.
Well, then, to me, all in would have been drafting a position in need.
Even if you thought that